Hi, I'm B-Rad, and welcome to B-Rad Games. Today I got some pretty awesome games I'm looking forward to showing you guys, but first I just wanted to talk about something just for a moment before we get into the video games. Anyway, what I wanted to mention was about buying and collecting video games. It's a lot of fun, but sometimes it can get pretty expensive. That's why it's important to set yourself a budget. Some of these old rare games can be over $100 or sometimes even more. And, you know, they might be cool to have, but there's a lot of other ones that are a lot cheaper. There's still a lot of fun, and you know, you can collect a lot of those ones. Look for systems with cheaper games. Anyway, a lot of this stuff has been covered in a lot of other videos, so I don't really want to get all into detail about it. I just wanted to talk mostly about you know, buying video games. Yes, it can be expensive, but it's a good idea to set yourself a budget. Me personally, if I couldn't pay for my house, if I couldn't pay for my car, it wouldn't be fun at all. So I try to keep my budget kind of modest. That way I can collect games and enjoy it. Instead of spending money, you could also do stuff like trading. And that's kind of how I got some of the games I want to show you guys. I met a guy through Kijiji. I went there to actually purchase a couple of games for very little money, under $20. And when I got there, he had a lot of stuff, some really cool stuff. And I was like, man, you know, this kind of isn't in my budget right now. But we got into talking about games a bit, and it sounded like he might be interested in some other stuff that I have that I could possibly trade. So I went home and took some pictures, and I sent them to him, and I put quite a bit of stuff on the table. I also asked for quite a bit of stuff too, though. Anyway, he got back to me, and he said he's willing to give me everything that I was asking for, and he only asked for a few of the things that I offered. So I was like, wow, you know, I was willing to give away quite a bit more. So for me, this trade was working out pretty good. Nonetheless, I went ahead and did it. I got some cool stuff, and here we go. I'm going to show you what it is. Anyway, I've been trying to collect Atari, so that's one of the first things that I got. I actually got quite a huge haul of games here. I got a box here. Some of these are pretty awesome games, and then there's a few that might not be the greatest titles ever, but I'll show you some of the really cool highlights for sure. Okay, first I got Super Breakout. If anyone hasn't played this game, this is kind of like Arkanoid, very similar to that. If you don't know what that is, well then best way to describe this game is you have a paddle that goes across the bottom of the screen left to right, and there's a ball bouncing around. You have to bounce it up to the top and destroy all the blocks at the top of the screen, and that's pretty much what you do in this game. Again, very similar to Arkanoid, a lot of fun, and you also use a paddle controller instead of a joystick, one that swivels left and right. So this is a lot of fun. I got Asteroids. You probably don't need me to talk about this, but in case you don't know too much about it, you have a little spaceship. You pretty much start at the center of the screen, and there's asteroids flying all over the place, and you have to shoot them, and as you shoot them, they break up into smaller pieces. And as you do that, it gets a lot more chaotic on the screen. Anyway, your objective is to clear all the asteroids from the screen, and then you go on to the next level. It's a lot of fun, but it can get quite chaotic. You can also move around the screen, you know, fly your ship around the screen. You can also do like cloaking or a teleporting kind of thing where you disappear, but you kind of randomly appear at another point in the screen, so it can get you out of danger, but it can get you in a lot of trouble too. Still a lot of fun in a very classic Atari 2600 game. Alright, this is one that I was looking for, one that I was searching for a little while, and it's awesome and super classic. This is Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong for Atari 2600. I love having this. It's one of my favorite games to play. It's one that I used to play as a kid. I used to play it at my friend's house all the time. I never owned it, but I mean, it's Donkey Kong. You know, you play as Mario, and I don't know if he was named Mario at the time. He used to be called Jumpman. Anyway, that's just some gaming history. You guys can look that up. Anyway. Donkey Kong is a lot of fun. You know, you have to climb all the way up the scaffolding, get all the way up to the top, and jump over the barrels and stuff. It's a fantastic game. This one only has 2 levels in it. I think the arcade version had 3 levels, but Atari 2600 Donkey Kong, you can't go wrong with this. If you want to play Atari 2600, you have to have this game. And here's one you don't necessarily have to have, but I have it. I have it kind of for gaming history, I guess, purposes. I do remember playing it as well. This is Atari, Atari ET, ET the Extraterrestrial. It's not a great game. It's not, I guess it's not as bad as everyone says, though. You can beat the game. It is playable. You probably have to look up how to play it. It is kind of tricky. I mean, to just jump in not knowing what you're doing, you're probably not going to figure out that easily. But I remember playing as a kid. I remember it being really tough, and I still remember trying, though. I remember having fun playing it. Anyway, it's E.T. It's supposed to be one of the worst games that ever came out for Atari. And, I mean, there's documentaries about Atari, and E.T. is highlighted in that, and, well, whatever. I wouldn't recommend spending a lot of money on it, but if you happen to get one for $1 or less, then give it a shot. Here's a game that I personally really love. This is Yars Revenge. Kind of hard to describe. You fly around in a ship, kind of looks like a bug. I don't know how well you can see that. And you have to fly up to a force field, and you have to chip away at it, or you can shoot at it. And once you break a hole through the force field, there's like a boss in the middle. Looks kind of like a mask. And then you can try and destroy it. And it's kind of complicated how it all works, but it's not really that hard once you start playing it anyway. It's a great fun game, and I highly recommend playing this. It's also really cheap. I picked this up for like under $3. Well, that's what I was going to do. Like I said, I was doing this trade, so I originally went there to get, this is one of the games I originally went to get, and I ended up scoring a whole bunch of cool games in the trade deal instead. Now here's one I remember playing as a kid, but I never understood it. This is called Sword Quest, and the reason why is I looked it up. It's a game that was part of like a promotional kind of contest for Atari, and there was supposed to be 4 parts that came out. This is one of them, and what would happen is you play the game, and when you play the game, you go into certain rooms and solve puzzles, and you would find like a clue or a puzzle or something, but you had to have a comic book that came with it. And then you look in the certain page that would reference in the game and look for a certain word, then you'd have to fill that out on an entry form and send it into Atari or something like that. So when I played this as a kid, I didn't know any of that. I don't think my friend had the comic book, and so I remember playing this game and not understanding what was going on, and it's kind of funny to look back on it knowing that I had no chance of ever actually completing this game. Anyway, the contest had 4 parts that were supposed to come out, and only 2 of them ever did. I think Sword Quest Earthworld, that's what this one is the first one that came out, and then there was more Sword Quest games that came out afterwards, and well, one more. They only came out with the first 2, and then it was discontinued. I think prizes were still awarded to the people that completed the first 2, and they had some sort of compensation. Anyway, crazy. I kind of think it's neat just to have this and know really why I couldn't beat it. And by the way, you probably won't be able to beat this either. That contest is over, and there's no actual end game to this game. Okay, this one is another one I used to play as a kid. This is called Keystone Capers. I'll sum it up real quick. It was a lot of fun. There's not much story to it. You're a cop, and you're chasing a burglar, and it looks like a diamond store. I used to think it was a shopping mall because there's escalators at the ends of the screen. You can run back and forth trying to chase this burglar guy, and you have to jump over shopping carts and obstacles and stuff, and you get close enough and you catch the bad guy, and then you get to the next level and you have to do it again. But there's also there's escalators and there's elevators, so you're going up and down them, and sometimes there's switching floors. It gets kind of tricky, and it's a lot of fun. I remember it being a heck of a lot of fun. I also got a whole box of games here. I'll just name off some of these ones. I'm not going to go into detail on them, but geez. Let's see, I got Night Driver, Kombat. Kombat is the first Atari 2600. I think it was the first game that was packaged with Atari 2600. It has multiple games on it, over 20 games, like 28 games. I might be wrong, but anyways, got a lot. We'll just say here. It looks like 27. Skydiver, Othello, Video Chess, International Soccer, Basketball, Backgammon, Super Cobra. Actually looked that one up. I've looked all these ones up. Any of the ones that I don't already know or I'm not that familiar with, I looked them up. This one I wasn't that familiar with, and it looks like it's actually fun to play. Real Sports Baseball, 3D Tic-Tac-Toe, Galaxian, Phoenix, and Pinball. Pinball, I just want to show you quickly. Look at that art on that. Kind of a funny looking case for an Atari 2600 game. There's actually a bit of a story behind that, which I'll talk about in another video. Got some more cool Atari 2600 stuff to go along with it. Picked up a cool joystick. It's got a button on the top, which is nice. If you want to use that instead, it has a switch so you can switch to the top button. I guess if you really wanted, because normally you'd play with your right hand and press the left, you could just use your left hand in that. Anyway, pretty cool. These are Atari 2600 paddles. These are ones that you use for games like Super Breakout, or I guess like Pong, stuff like that. They slide back and forth. They have a button on them. There's actually two of them connected together, and you use one input to plug it in. So I'm looking forward to playing some Super Breakout and having the proper controls to play it with. This one is super special and super cool. I've never seen one of these before. When I saw it, I was like, can you throw this into the deal? And to my surprise, he did it. I was like, this is so cool. This is Atari 2600 wireless joystick. Check out the antenna on it. Look at the size of this thing. It is thick. It takes a 9-volt battery. But you can't just pick it up and play it. I mean, you have to have something that receives the signal. This is the Atari 2600 remote control joystick receiver. You have to plug this into the power slot in the back where your AC adapter would go, in the back of your Atari, and then you plug the power source for your Atari into this. It has a cool antenna. Got to pull that out. Then you plug it into your Atari 2600, and then you're ready to go wireless. Now I think it came with 2 controllers originally, because I looked it up online, and I only got one with it, but this is still pretty awesome. I've never seen one of these. I mean, look how big it is. Wireless Atari 2600 joystick. Alright, just got a couple more things I want to show you. It was a pretty good trade deal. I was so happy. Like I said, trading is a great way to go. Anyway, used to have one of these as a kid, but I'm glad to get one again. This is a Sega Genesis. It is the Model 1. They came out with at least one more model. I had the Model 2 before. I also had a... actually, I don't think I had a Model 1. I think I only had a Model 2. Anyway, this is the Model 1. I remember playing this at my friend's house back when Sega Genesis first came out. And this is super awesome. If you like 16-bit games and Super Nintendo is too pricey for you, this is probably a great way to go. It's awesome. You can also hook it up to a Sega CD. There's so many super awesome titles, like all the Sonic games, Streets of Rage, stuff like that. Great, fantastic system. Got a Sega Genesis, came with a few games. Alright, I remember renting this and thinking it was really hard, but it came with the system, and I'm still glad to add it to my collection. This is Ecco The Dolphin. This is the first one. I think they came out with at least one more for Genesis, and maybe one for Sega CD or something. Please don't quote me on that. But this is the first Ecco. It was fun, the graphics were good, the swimming mechanics were great, but I remember it being quite challenging as a kid. But I'm looking forward to giving it a shot now, you know, I'm ready to take on harder challenges. I got NHL 94. I'm not a huge sports guy, but this is one of the games that came with the Genesis, and I do know that this is one of the best sports games to have. If you're a hockey fan and you like playing old retro stuff, 94 for Genesis is one of the best ways to go, especially the Genesis version over Super Nintendo. Genesis was just, you know, it ran the sports games, it was faster and stuff, and NHL 94. I actually used to play this a lot, but I think I had a Sega CD version of it. Got a couple more Genesis games, some loose cards. Show you this one first. This is Sonic 2. Everybody loves Sonic 2. I mean, I shouldn't have to explain this one. You're Sonic the Hedgehog. It has tails in it, and this is the first one was great, but this improved on pretty much everything. It was a fantastic game, and I'm glad to have this. Now, for the next one, I have Mortal Kombat! Hope you like that. This is Mortal Kombat for Sega Genesis. This is definitely an awesome game. It's superior to the Super Nintendo one. For me personally, and a lot of other people probably think the same thing. I know Genesis didn't always match the Super Nintendo graphics, but this one had the blood code. And you could, everything great about Mortal Kombat back in the game just by putting in the code, and all the fatalities were there, all the bloody uppercuts. It was just fantastic. Alright, got a couple more to show you. Actually, this is probably the last game I got in the trade. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the NES. He had a couple of NES carts there. This is one I totally wanted to have. I was like, you know, I want this too, and he totally threw it in on the deal, and I was like, thank you very much. This is so cool. This is only one player game if you haven't played it before. It's actually quite difficult, but I remember playing as a kid. I remember playing it for hours and loving it so much. But later on, they did come out with NES games, Turtles games, that ended up being a lot more fun. They were co-op and stuff, so I'm really glad to have this, but there are much more user-friendly ones that came out later on. Now, one more game. Actually, I picked this one up. I didn't get this in a trade, but I just wanted to show it to you because I'm really excited to have it. I love Sega Master System, so I got this one here. It's a Wonder Boy for Sega Master System. You can see I got a sticker on it. I was going to try to peel that off, but I haven't yet. It also looks like the plastic's been burned here. Man, this one's in rough shape. It still works. I've already played it. It's a great game. It's a game I used to play for hours as a kid, and I'm glad to add it to my collection. I would like to get a nicer copy of it, but this one plays, and so it'll do for now. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm really excited about all the new games I got. I've already played some of them. I want to play them all. I'm excited to know if there's anything you guys want to see. Any videos you want to see of some of these games? You have any comments on any of the games I've seen? You have any games you want to recommend to me or anything like that? Please let me know. Also, there's one more thing that I got to mention. It's actually quite important. This is probably going to be my very last video as B-Rad Games. Now, don't worry, I'm not giving it all up. In fact, I'm going to keep going. What I am going to do, though, is we're doing a bit of a name change. B-Rad Games, if you look it up, there's a couple of them. I've looked up a few other options as well. And I don't want to name them off because I don't want you to start looking up these other guys. I want you to look for my show. So my new name after this video is going to be the B-Rad Video Show. That's what the titles are going to be, and I hope you enjoy watching more of the B-Rad Video Show. If you want to see more videos like this, then please hit the like button, and please subscribe. Also, please hit the little bell button in the corner option down there, and you will get notifications of all my videos, and that way if, you know, I'm going to do a name change soon, but it shouldn't be any trouble for all you guys already subscribed. That's the B-Rad Video Show. I'll see all you guys next time.